is your winner and new Intercontinental Champion, Danimal Daniel Jobber. Perfect. What's up, everybody? This is Danimal Daniel Jobber, self-proclaimed Duke of the Cruiserweights, and we are here for another episode of Jobbing Out with Danimal Daniel Jobber, 205 Live, and WWE Cruiserweight Report. Coming off a lackluster week, somewhat in wrestling. Of course, on Raw, the 70 man fired Mick Foley as the Raw GM. That ought to put butts in the seats, eh? And of course on SmackDown, just more of the heat between AJ Styles and Shane McMahon going into WrestleMania. A couple of exciting moments, and it was actually a pretty good, pretty decent SmackDown show tonight. A number of good things in it, but the Cruiserweight division, good stuff early on. 205 Live, not one of my favorite episodes of 205 Live, but it was had some good stuff trying to build towards WrestleMania, of course, in 2 weeks. WrestleMania 33. So yes, coming up on the really exciting moment, and of course featured by the Cruiserweight Championship match. Neville defends the title against Austin Aries, and a lot of that was being dealt with on the 205 Live show tonight. But first off, we are going to start off with the early part of the week. Main event actually was one of the highlights of the Cruiserweight week for me. A pretty good match between Jack Gallagher, gentlemen, Jack Gallagher, and Noam Dar, the Scottish Supernova. These two have been doing a pretty good job of impressing me lately. Some of my favorite matches from the past couple of weeks. So I was looking forward to a good match here, and really they didn't disappoint. They might as well have a match there on main event, where they tend to have a little more time to work and usually have some fun matches. And kind of started off with the way the other matches did a little bit. But actually, before I'll say that, Noam Dar always comes out with that purple coat, and I think it's kind of cool. Love to get one of those, but it's funny because he zips it up on the way out, and then he gets to the ring and he unzips it and takes it off. It's like, yeah, kind of a weird little entrance thing he does there. But anyways, they start off with a handshake, which a lot of the matches seem to do in the Cruiserweight division. But anyways, typical, with Jack Gallagher and Noam Dar lately, they start off with a little bit of chain wrestling, but very quickly, Dar pushes Jack Gallagher into the corner, and Jack Gallagher goes up in his big corner headstand in the corner, and of course, Noam Dar tries to win, and Jack Gallagher bends his leg and points it at him again and makes him back off, and he tries to go in again and does it again, and of course, Noam Dar is trying to complain to the ref, and the ref just has none of it. What can I do? It's what it is. So of course, this time Noam Dar decided just to run in, and this time instead of jumping out of the way, gentleman Jack Gallagher puts both his legs out, and Noam Dar runs smack dab into him with his face. Always a comedic entrance. Jack Gallagher knows how to make his matches entertaining every weekend. That bit hasn't got old yet. It seems like it's entertaining and funny at the beginning of all the shows. These guys have a little mini feud going on with this little bit there with the corner handstands and everything. So I enjoyed it, but really that was the highlight of the match. After that, the couple of gorgeous standing drop kicks by Gallagher, typical, and then a poorly executed false finish by Noam Dar. Then and Jack Gallagher hits with his headbutt, and this actually gets the crowd gasp out of the crowd again. He's just hitting him in the chest with his head, but they do it so well, and Noam Dar sells it so well that the crowd still buys this great headbutt by Jack Gallagher. So that's working good. Anyways, it stuns Dar, and he wobbles into the corner, and it's in perfect position for Jack Gallagher to hit his beautiful running drop kick, and gets the 3 count for the win. Yeah, it was a little long, fairly quick match. The stuff in between wasn't really all that impressive. Once again, the crowd gasped for the drop kick and gave Jack Gallagher a decent cheer for his impressive victory. So he's kind of been a pleasant surprise when he gets to the crowd. It's like he kind of wins their appreciation over slowly with his performance skills. So it seems like that he's one of the more overperformers, I guess, if anyone can be on the cruiserweight division. Anyways, that was the first event, and then of course that led into Monday Night Raw. And really, some of the storytelling on Monday Night Raw was so questionable. It was as Deluxe Man, the video makes videos reviewing Raw and that sort of thing. If you aren't watching Deluxe Man, you should. He's awesome. He pointed out how bad it was and how poorly written and how all the plot holes in the show were just awful leading into WrestleMania. Anyways, there's a couple of matches on it, of course, as usual. First off, it's the Brian Kendrick against T.J. Perkins. And T.J. Perkins comes out and the crowd just does not pop at all. He does his usual Nintendo entrance and just really no sound out of the crowd whatsoever. I think actually the Litzman was pointing out how quiet the crowd was after the first hour. And that match really didn't get anything. I think that was even in the first hour, and it still didn't get a lot of crowd into it. But anyways, and then really not any boos for Kendrick when he comes out either. So pretty much quiet at the start of the match. Kendrick starts off reaching out his hand, and first Perkins goes to grab it, and this time Kendrick pulls it away. The fake handshake to to do a little bit of a swerve on the handshakes that have been happening with a lot of the matches lately. Anyways, Perkins starts off with a quick athletic showing, knocking Kendrick over the top rope, attempts a corner springboard drop kick. Kendrick slides out of the way, and so it forces Perkins to abort, and he lands on the apron. And then quickly, Perkins runs into the ropes, runs over to the other corner, where he has a chance to do another springboard corner drop kick, and this time he catches Kendrick with it after where Kendrick had moved to get out of the way from the first one. So pretty entertaining little start there. Not much, once again, not much out of the crowd either, but then he throws Kendrick back in the ring, hits a flying crossbody from the top rope, gets a 2 count, and then he goes for the detonation kick, try to get the quick win. Perkins counters it. Or sorry, pardon me, Kendrick counters it, sends Perkins to the corner, and hits the ref, and Perkins is, kind of apologizing, saying to the ref, I didn't mean to. And while he's doing that, Kendrick goes into the corner and grabs Perkins by the neck and does his slice bread 2 for a quick, easy victory. And this is actually one of the more entertaining squash matches I've seen. It was quick, high-paced, and entertaining right from the beginning to end, and I think the match only lasted about a minute. So very good squash match to theoretically get the crowd into a bit of a cruiserweight moment on Raw, but the crowd really wasn't into it all that much, even after the match, Brian Kendrick's win. But I thought it was a pretty entertaining, quick squash match, so I enjoyed it. Anyways, after the match, Kendrick cuts a humorous heel promo, calling out Akira Tozawa, saying, why aren't you attacking me now when I'm vulnerable? And he pulls out, or it says that, he's not in the country right now because it turns out to get into America, you have to have one of these. And he pulls out this Japanese passport and says, this is Akira Tozawa's passport. Of course, it doesn't really let on as to how Akira Tozawa got back or got to Japan or out of the country without his passport. You needed to get out and in. Yet he's out of the country without his passport. So unless Kendrick had been there with the other country with Tozawa and stole it and went back into America with it and left him there, there's really no way that Tozawa could have got out of the country without his passport. So it's kind of silly. He had to be in the country. But anyways, it was a cool little swerve, I guess, and he said, lesson number 7, careful what you leave laying on the ground. With his little heel bit that's really going on good and getting the crowd every reason to hate him and to cheer for Akira Tozawa. Entertaining stuff. He's definitely one of the most entertaining heels on the roster at this point. But anyways, that was what it was, and the crowd really didn't care a heck of a lot. And as he's walking out, he gets very little reaction from the crowd. I noted. So really, the crowd just didn't care. It was a match, and maybe they gasped a couple of moments, but that was about it. So anyways, later on, we had Austin Aries versus Tony Nese, the premier athlete, and this was sort of a squash match. Tony Nese did get a few moments in there. We got a little bit of beatings on Aries, but really, the match was mostly to show off Austin Aries' talents. But yeah, a bit of brutality from Nese. Austin Aries did hit his heat-seeking missile suicide dive before a quick break they had, and then after they come back, Nese has a bit more offense. But immediately following that, Austin hit several impressive moves, and and actually gets the crowd in the match a bit because he's got Tony Nese on the ground and he's kind of waving to all the crowd and getting them all to make noise because they want to see the the rolling no that's what he said the pendulum elbow they called it, and the crowd's all getting into it and finally hits the pendulum elbow to appease them, and then basically he goes to the top rope and hits, or so he does a rolling senton, and then he hits a missile drop kick from the top turnbuckle. Austin Aries putting on a real show here, and then he does his he throws Nese into the ropes, does his rolling elbow to seal rolling elbow punch to hit seal or elbow forearm, whatever you want to call it, to seal the victory. And it kind of showed a little bit of appreciation for for Aries' showmanship in the squash match finish. So it was good to see someone got over a little bit. But anyways, while they're doing it, the announcers, Phillips is calling it a discus five arm, and Michael Cole asks him why he says this. He says, "Well, it's way better than a forearm, so it's a discus five arm." What it is. Cole acts disgusted and begs for Austin Aries to please come back to the announce table. And of course, all Byron Saxton tries to say was, "I get it." And then of course, Phillips says, or sorry, Phillips says, "Yeah, don't say it, or it'll lose credibility." It's like everybody hates poor Byron Saxton. I don't know. It's always that bit of everyone picking on Byron Saxton, like he's the guy to be picked on in the group. It's typical, I guess, for the three-man announce teams that really don't work well together. Anyways, after that, Neville comes out for a promo off against Austin Aries, and Aries protests he did not have an interview with Neville scheduled, but Neville stands at the entrance ramp and calls him out and says he's going to he could come to the ring to obliterate him, but he's not on his level, but Aries isn't on his level, so, and then Aries fires right back and just really just rips into Neville, saying that this is the worst interview segment ever, and you're not on your level, but I'm above your level, as he always says. And he tells Neville to tell everyone for the next 13 days that you're the king of the cruiserweights, because in 13 days he's going to destroy the entire Fazad at WrestleMania, and basically the entire Fazad is going to be over when he beats Neville and walks out with the Cruiserweight Championship. Small portion of the crowd seemed to give Aries some appreciation, but most just really didn't care about it. About the cruiserweight segments on Raw, as I was mentioned, I noticed it too. But the Lixman was really noting that the crowd just is not into the Raw show after the first hour, and this match certainly didn't make a huge difference for them. So, but anyways, that was all the preliminary stuff, and that led, of course, into 205 Live tonight, the big show for the cruiserweight division, and well, like I said, it wasn't a bad 205 Live, it wasn't a good 205 Live, it was the 205 Live, I guess. One show before the last show leading into WrestleMania, the Go Home show. Hopefully, they were going to try to hype up the WrestleMania matches. But of course, the only one we really know for sure, the main one we know for sure, is Aries versus Neville for the Cruiserweight Championship. But anyways, as the show starts off, before they even do the theme song, they have Dash interviewing Neville, asking him why he decided to have a match with Mustafa Ali 12 days of WrestleMania. And Neville cuts a promo, basically making himself look tough, talking about how he just wants to show. Well, actually, he was kind of insulted by the fact that in the previous time he was doing his promo the previous week, Mustafa Ali interrupted him, but really he didn't. He just walked past him as he was walking out. I don't really know why they tried to sell that as some kind of interruption. It looked like they met their eyes as they walked past each other. But he says he was insulted, and that's one of the reasons he has a match, and the reason is to show everybody in the cruiserweight division and Austin Aries how dominating he is going into WrestleMania. So just a quick promo, nothing too exciting, and then of course they have the theme song, and right off the bat they have the first match: T.J. Perkins versus the premier athlete Tony Nese. And this is actually an interesting match because in my power rankings, if you check them out this week on DanimalDanielJobber.ca, my website, it's Tony Nese is number 7 and TJ Perkins is number 10. And they're actually neck and neck and close enough that if TJ Perkins uh, beats Tony Nese, he's basically going to pass him in the chat line. So yeah, I want to make sure we're still things still going live here. should be, because it's still streaming, but pardon me for the interruption. I just want to make sure I'm not talking to the air. Hey, Kevin. Yeah, still live, it looks like. So, anyways, so it was a chance for TJ Perkins to move up and probably pass Tony Nese in the power rankings. So that was interesting. If you want to follow my power rankings, I these two are close enough in their where they're standing in the that a win over the other makes a huge difference. So, anyways, they have a handshake as they do a lot of the times, and it's a pretty good, fast-paced, back and forth match. Not many unusual things you would expect to see from these guys. Nothing really too much worth noting. But until they get to the ending. And the ending, TJP goes for his springboard DDT that he's been doing a lot lately, but he's forced to abort as Nese moves out of the way. TJP tries for a detonation kick, is unable to complete it, and Nese reverses it and does the back suplex for TJP's head into an exposed turnbuckle, basically knocking him out, and then Nese bounces off the rope and runs at him with the running Nese, taking him out and getting the win. So anyways, Nese retains his ranking spot ahead of TJ Perkins, and other than that, not much to point out for the match. The crowd wasn't really too into the match. Weird, I can actually hear myself. Anyways, so that was the first match, uh, kicking off the show. Then we have a promo from Drew Gulak, basically following up on last week, where Dasha asked him, what you talked last week about how you need change, 205 Live needs change, and what you meant. And he started saying that misunderstood and was angry after his loss or whatever. But really, he kind of said the same thing anyways. I don't know why he even bothered justifying what he said last week when it was really the same thing he was saying this week. Basically, he says that the WWE Universe is always cheering on these glorified stuntmen in the 205 Live in the Cruiserweight division, and it's dangerous. That's the danger of the Cruiserweight division. And says not to worry, though, because he has a solution. Darth doesn't yet say what kind of solution he has. So we're not sure where we're going with this one, but we'll have to stay tuned and see what he's got in mind. Anyways, after that, they have a segment where they have Akira Tozawa come out for a match, and before they announce his opponent's name, who I didn't recognize, they go to a recap of TJ Perkins with the TJ Perkins, pardon me, of the Brian Kendrick with his passport incident from the other show on Raw. And then when they get back to the match, they failed to announce his opponent's name. They didn't even give him the billing at all. Nobody on the show who didn't know him previously would have a clue who his opponent was. And they may never will, because Kira Tozawa runs out, does his German suplex, and gets the 3 count in seconds. Basically a one-move match. Complete squash match. Pointless to even bring this guy out. Let alone not even give him his name on the show. Like, what an insult. It's like, wow, that was pretty disappointing. Like, you feel bad for the guy because he gets his chance to be on TV and doesn't even get his name mentioned. Like that's the pinnacle of insulting and rudeness, I think. At least mention his name, show his announcement, and then go to the segment or something. I don't know. Waste of time, anyways. Basically, it was just to show Akira Tozawa's suplex off. A German suplex pin combination. But anyways, after the instant win, Akira Tozawa tries to call out Brian Kendrick, and when he doesn't answer, he says, "Well, I'm coming to you," and he starts to walk towards the back room, and then a security guard comes and knocks him into the barricade and takes off to the skies, and it's the Brian Kendrick. And he takes him out with a couple of moves, and then he grabs a microphone and or he hits a sliced bread off the apron, sliced bread number 2 off the apron, and he grabs the microphone and goes, "Lesson number 8: appearances can be deceiving." So he still continues to give these lessons. Lesson number 7, of course, was careful what you leave lying on the ground. And this was appearances can be deceiving as he comes out in a security guard and attacks Tozawa. So building heat, I'm pretty sure they're going to have at least a match on the pre-show between these two guys in WrestleMania. I mean, something's got to give there. They're building this feud. They got to do something with it. There should be a payoff at some point. You hope. WWE, you just never know, but you hope they're building something. And then finally we get to the main event segment. Sorry, before the main event segment, they have a quick little bit with Rich Swann and Jack Gallagher talking about looking dapper in their suits in the back, and Noam Dar and Arya Daivari comes along as if they're some kind of a tag team or they're friends or partners or something like that. I don't know what purpose Arya Daivari served, but Noam Dar comes out and says, "Any of you gentlemen want to or know anything about this?" And he pulls out a box and pulls a piece of lingerie out of it and asks, who sent this. And of course they say, and of course that's sure it was Gallagher or Swan that says, what you wear in your spare time, Noam, is your business. Basically firing it back at him again. And then Noam Dar just says, you know what? That's whatever. I'm not going to be giving any more of these gifts to my Alicia Fox because we have a good relationship and we just don't need to. So there'll be no more gifts. Of course, that's silly because it doesn't stop anybody else from sending her gifts. So I don't know. I don't know what the segment really benefited from, except to remind people that it's probably Rich Swann sending these gifts to Alicia Fox. There's apparently he intercepted this person delivering this box to Alicia Fox while he was getting, I don't know what he was even getting ready for. He didn't have a match on the show. But anyways, he was all mad about it, and he said no more gifts, and we don't know where that's going to go, but I'm expecting we're going to find out something about Rich Swann, and I got a feeling that that's where Alicia Fox is going to end up. So stay tuned. That's going to be an interesting resolution to that situation there. Anyways, that led into really nothing. And then we finally have the main event segment for the show, and this was just a long, drawn-out half-hour segment. Really, it was filler. It's a shame that they didn't have anything else to put in the show. They didn't even almost like they should have had the match, a quick match between Gallagher and Swan, Noam Dar, and Arya Daivari, because really they had all this time to fill. And I mean, I know the match might have taken too long, but they had all this time to fill, and they just basically wasted it on one big, massive segment. I mean, it wasn't totally wasted. Obviously, it's building towards the WrestleMania main event, or the Cruiserweight main event title match. There's Austin Aries comes out to a promo segment, his address, basically of his state of situation to the 205 Live audience. Talking about how Neville last night was such a terrible interview, and he was the worst part of his interview. So tonight he's going to avoid the problem. He's not going to bring Neville out. He's going to ask himself questions. So he asks him a couple of arrogant questions just to really answer, basically insults Neville. And he gets to the third or fourth question, and then finally out comes Neville to interrupt him. And this time Neville comes right into the ring, excuse me, rather than promo off against, from outside of the ring. Comes into the ring and they're face to face and they're promo off, and Neville starts basically comes out to challenge them. Tells Austin he shot his mouth off enough and it's time to leave. Well, he has a match with Mustafa Ali, and this is when I'm going to show him what happens when you disrespect me. And then Austin Aries, oh yeah, I've said too much, or you've heard too much out of my mouth, whatever. And he goes like he's going to leave, and he comes back and going, no, you know what? I don't think I've said too much, or I have too much coming out of my mouth. In fact, I've got permission to be the color commentator for your match against Mustafa Ali. So he's going to sit down at the commentary table and he's going to basically commentate the match. And this really was more of a distraction, I thought, because his match against Mustafa Ali was just a long, drawn out 10-minute segment of mostly Neville beating up on Ali. It's almost like they just told him to fill the match with a bunch of fight scenes with Neville looking strong to pass the time until a certain point in the show, and then finish it up with all this last minute finishing stuff, and then end with the final segment. Really, it's like they didn't have any direction for the first part, except for Austin Aries doing his commentary, talking about how tough he is and how he's going to win at WrestleMania and that sort of thing. Really distracting, annoying, just totally tune out during this part of the match, and I think I pretty much did. There wasn't a lot to really talk about. But then for the last 10 minutes, they finally got going, and there was a bunch of moments that are almost OMG moments, including one that is probably the highlight of the week in terms of cruiserweights. So anyways, Austin Aries kind of shuts up at that point, starts saying a lot less, letting the announcers just do their job. And of course, that's when the exciting moments start happening. Basically, first off, Ali does a springboard backward vault on a Neville outside the ring. The typical vault into a guy waiting outside the ring. And he barely gets back into the ring at the 10 count, even though, because Neville gets back into the ring first. And it gets Ali barely gets back into the ring. Then he hits a high drop kick off the ropes to Neville's head, actually, right Basically, I think Neville kind of helped him. But yeah, right to Neville's head, knocking him down, tries for a pin, doesn't get the 3 count. Where did he go after that? Then he did a through the ropes rolling neck breaker, and then finally he tries for a tornado DDT, but Neville catches him and sends him into the ropes. But then Ollie hits just this sick uh, span, standing Spanish fly. Basically, they're both on the top rope. Uh, I believe Ollie's facing towards the crowd and Neville's facing backwards. Sorry, no, other way around. And basically, he just flips him, or they flip together, basically driving Neville's body face down. The crowd gasped for this. It was really beautiful, highlight of the week kind of moment for this match. It's really hard to describe. They called it the standing Spanish fly. Anyways, beautiful move. And of course he goes for the 3 count and doesn't get the three again. So nothing all he did seemed to get the 3 count on this match. So then he tries for his 450 splash. Neville gets out of the way. And Ollie does another amazing move. He jumps high into the air and does a headlock on Neville's head and does just a sick hurricane DDT move, rolling DDT with Neville. It really hard to describe these moves. They're just beautiful cruiserweight action. I encourage you to watch these part of the match if nothing else, because that part of the match really was worth paying attention to. And anyways, once again, tries for the three. Of course, any normal being, of course, looks like he'd get the 3 count, but once again, Neville kicks out. He's not going to get the 3 count. Nothing he's going to do is going to do it. Tries once more for a 450 inverted splash. Neville gets out of the way again. And then Neville cradles his back over cradles Ollie's over the top rope, and or sorry, pardon me. He goes up on the top, he has Aries on the, he has Ollie on the top rope, and he climbs up behind him, cradling him from behind, and does a German suplex where he throws him, and basically he throws him so far, or at least he flips so far, that Ollie flips completely around and lands face down on the mat. Beautiful, another crowd gasping move, and that looked like the end of the match could have been there, but of course that wasn't the end of the match. That just basically set it up. And then of course Neville proceeds to waste time after this. Goes out of the ring, throws him out of the ring, goes out of the ring after him, and at this point he's taunting Aries at the announce table, and the crowd's starting to say like, "Get on with it!" And they're starting to boo, or almost boo, or say like, "Hurry up, do stuff." Getting bored of the match. They're really ready for it to end at this point. So, anyways, Neville finally throws Ollie back into the ring, and he just crawls back in the ring and sets up the Ring of Saturn submission and makes Ollie tap out. Finally, this match ends. Most of it was really filler, except for that little burst of exciting moments there. That part is all you really have to watch. You watch that, you pretty much seen the entire match, because unless you haven't seen the Rings of Saturn submission that Neville does now to complement the Red Arrow, which really doesn't fit his heel image much anymore. But anyways, Neville wins with submission. As he leaves the ring, he stares down Aries. They stare at each other coolly, don't say a word, nothing happens. Neville goes back into the ring and grabs and gets his title and starts to celebrate over top of the fallen body of Mustafa Ali, making Neville look strong going into the final week before WrestleMania. And that was really the end of the show. That's pretty much all that happened, the way they ended it. A minor encounter face-to-face again with Austin Aries. Really, there's not much more they can say. They're almost overkilling the hype between this match. It's got to remind people that it's a tense feud, and hopefully set up some other matches, maybe for the pre-show or something, because really there's not much more they can do with this Neville versus Austin Aries feud. Austin Aries almost started to come across as an arrogant jerk, and it's almost like I'm not even caring who wins this match. I know Austin Aries is supposed to win and supposed to be a little more over, but even Neville was starting to get cheers every now and again when he did a few poses trying to get the crowd upset at his arrogance. The crowd was almost turning. Some of the crowd was actually cheering for him too. It's like, I don't know if anybody really cares or really likes either of these guys all that much. I think it's going to be just a match people are going to watch and cheer for whoever they want. A mixed cheering match, I think, at WrestleMania. So I don't know what to make of it, but anyways, that was the cruiserweight division for this week. not as exciting as last week, although some of the moves in a couple of those matches were great. And of course, Jack Gallagher continuing his antics against Noam Dar is always funny. And of course, the building of a couple storylines, including the one with where Alicia Fox could end up next. That's about it. I think it's still worth watching. I find the cruiserweights always entertaining, but yeah, the crowd still isn't getting into it all that much as you'd hope. We hopefully will. Hope I can find a way to inspire some people that to really appreciate what these guys are doing, because I mean they are killing it out there, leaving everything in the ring that they can. Just they're not getting the appreciation from the crowd. They're more go to the washer matches. Anyways, that's all I'm going to do this week. I'm going to wrap it up. Once again, this is Danimal Daniel Jobber, self-proclaimed Duke of the Cruiserweights. And you can follow me at Daniel Jobber on Twitter, Daniel Jobber on at Danimal Daniel Jobber on Instagram. Of course, my Twitch channel, as you see, is Danimal Daniel Jobber. I have a YouTube channel, Danimal Daniel Jobber. You can even email me at danimaldanieljobber.ca or sorry at gmail.com if you want. Also, you'll check out my website where I have lots of cool stuff, and I'm starting to put now the power rankings every week. I'm going to be updating those for the state of the cruiserweight division. I'm keeping track very carefully of all that's going on, so I can give you an accurate picture of who's ranking where and how it changes week to week. That's going to be right on my website, danimaldanieljobber.ca. And of course, these videos are also there as I put them up as well as on my YouTube channel. So yeah, you want to see everything about Danimal Daniel Jobber, danimaldanieljobber.ca. That's my official website. But anyways, I hope you'll you can comment, like if you like what you see, subscribe, like, share the video with your friends. Let's try to make this cruiserweight division exciting, because it is what we make of it. It's exciting wrestling, but the only way it's going to catch on and gain momentum is if people start getting behind it and looking forward to it and following along. And I'm hoping I can help get people inspired into the cruiserweight division. Anyways, thanks for watching. This is Danimal Daniel Jobber bidding you good night. Jobber out.